Hello guys, welcome to another session. My name is Jamie Johnson and this is target 080702, 30th 7th, and intent is show me the target site and images from target 080702 from crviewer.com. We've got emotional state and physical state and a little doodle that sort of kicks me into the mode. Today we're doing another review, which is just me talking about the outcomes that happened in the session. The actual session video wasn't successfully recorded, and it's a lot easier to do it this way, but in future I will try and do both. So if you want to have a look at the actual session details and how I've described those impressions coming through, I will get those two videos out. Because I like showing how the impressions develop actually through the sessions. But on that note, let's kick into page 1. All right. So our target was 080702. Let's bring up some photos. We've got about 3 photos of the site. The description is an Isidro in New Mexico. So it's a house made out of Adobe mud. It's a special house. There's nothing to stop weathering happening on it. It's just a mud house. And every year for the last 140 years, they have run this ceremony every year to replaster the walls with mud. So, yeah. So we've got a few people. We've got the church itself. We've got the people setting up with equipment around the building, and we've got a whole lot of volunteers who are there to slap on mud. I'll show up some photos as to what impressions I think it might be related to throughout the session, and we'll just go from there. Alright, so here we go. We've got the ideogram, which I came through after 080702. Just some descriptions of the trace that I did as I went through the ideogram, and these are some of my descriptions. Feeling structures on my face, across my cheek, arms and legs. Feel cold and feels like liquid on skin. Feel tightness in ear or side of face. So the whole left side of my face just felt tight, or it was pressed up against a structural sort of thing, like structural, close together, squeeze like impression. So imagine if your head was pressed up against the wall. That's what I've kind of felt. B, I had my pro points declared. So 1, there was structures I could feel. 2, cold flows, and some more structured shapes felt at number 3. C for sense, we have touch 1, which is, I've written down structural form down left side of face. Skin feels tight and stretched. Feels like front of the body has slight surface coldness. Feel coldness beyond skin, slight cold radiant temp. So yeah, structure form down the left side of face. So just how I just described it earlier, how if your head was pressed up against the wall, you sort of, that was the major impression of this description right here. It felt like your face was up against a structure and it was flat, and feels cold, feels like front of body has slight surface coldness. So I can only think that it's evaporating with all that mud that's being slapped on it, but we just don't know. Just makes kind of sense, but anyway. Feels coldness beyond skin, slight cold radiant temps. So this one is where the impression, I could feel it beyond the surface of my skin. So when you feel impressions, especially temperature impressions, you can feel it internally to the body, you can feel it on the body, like on the surface of the skin, or you can feel it beyond the skin. So it's away from the body in that sort of impression. This one I felt like there was a radiant temp, like there was a cold atmosphere somewhere, and it was just sort of hanging there. And these things, I'm thinking that, that's the mud, that's this wetness of the mud that's just slapping on the walls, coldness beyond the skin. I think that's inside the church, the Isidro itself. I reckon it's insulated really well, and it looks like a desert, so anything colder, it makes sense, but we can't really tell. It doesn't really say, but we have to make links with something. You got impressions, and even though you may not be able to prove it, it adds to the collection of everything else to form opinions and conclusions about stuff. Anyway, that's touch 1. Touch 2, feels like a cold flow internal to my body around my chest area. It doesn't feel structured. It feels like an area in my chest, movement and flows in that area. So yeah, I felt this a couple of times in the session, and it just felt like there was a space in my chest and things were moving, and I have no idea, and I still don't know what that could be. Is it the church tower? I'm really not sure. Let me bring up some photos and see what we can bring up. Okay, so we've got the pictures up. So yeah, I don't know where this space could be coming from, but it does feel like an area in my chest. I can only think that it's maybe the movement that's happening inside the Isidro, maybe. It could be the cold mud in those buckets. Excuse me. So I truly have no idea. But hey, felt something interesting, and it can only develop in the future anyway. So let's continue on. Number 2, so touch 3, feels like face is pushed up against a structure wall. So yeah, it very much, I think, very much how these guys are slapping on mud onto the walls. I think we're just feeling the place, the church, and them up against it, really. I can sort of think that it's the face of the wall that I can feel of that structure. Either I'm the church and that wall is an outer face, or it could be that I'm a person and I'm right up against it, so I can really feel it against. It depends on the perspective, and I'm not too sure which perspective it's coming from. Texture 1. Waves of cold flows over arms, water-like, feels like structures over my knuckles, on my hands. Face feels puffy, like I have head items on. And I drew this little thing. I drew my head, and I drew how fluffy or bulky or just how thick things feel around my face. Now, if we look at some of these photos from the church, you can see that people are taking, they're wearing headgear to keep their heads safe from the sun. And I'm thinking that either I've gone in onto one of them and I'm feeling the headgear as well. It's pretty simple. I don't think it's anything else in specific. It just remains that simple to sort of link it to that. Texture 2 feels like around something. My body is around something. Arms feel like wrapping around something in front of me. Maybe something held within my arm structure or space inside. Now, I'm not too sure what this is. I actually felt like this was all the construction materials around the church, and I was encompassing something. But it could very well be a bucket of dirt that someone's actually carrying for someone in order to give it to them so they can put it on the wall. So it can... there's no definitive proof. There's really not much photos there saying that this is happening or that you can see it, but you can see the construction gear set up, and they're just busy putting shit on the wall. Sorry, excuse my language. They're just putting up the Adobe mud up on a wall. And but yeah, this feeling of something surrounding something or hugging something. I thought it was the construction around the whole church in a way, but it could very well be somebody holding a bucket of mud for somebody else. We'll see what we find else inside. Texture 3, slightly sweating, so that's a personal response. I was just sitting here trying to do the probe, and for some reason everything just got hot. I started sweating on my brow. And you just got to make a note of it. It's the first time that was a first, I believe, that I was sweating, and I can actually feel the impression come through as sweat. It's hard work, slapping mud on a building. Feel nervous, quick breathing noticed, so has a bit of exercise there as well, right? It's not the gym or anything, but it's a long, arduous task throughout the day, and who knows how hard it is to slap up mud. Structural alarms, cold air beyond skin noticed, so it was a nice fine day, I would say. Structural alarms, it's all that construction setup, those beams and everything else. Trellises, could very well be it. Temp 1, I felt this coldness inside again. Coldness felt in chest. Is it coming out of my chest? Body structured and structural and warm. So I still think it's the internal to the church. I don't think it's anything else. Again, you can feel movement in the chest. You can't feel the detail. Like, you can't. It's not something that's describable, but you can. It's like the merge of moving of things. Maybe I need some more practice to actually understand what's going on. But yeah, it's movement. It's cold. It's a space in my chest. It's an area of space where movement occurs, and that's all I can sort of associate with that impression. So that's why I think it's inside the church itself. Temp 2, feeling cold over body, feels like water. Movement gives movement gives after effects on body, ripples, waves. Feel movement in right hand, fingers moving. Okay, that could be anything. It could be someone picking up something, all the hand movements that can occur. You're squeezing stuff, putting mud on stuff. I can understand that the fingers and the hands are moving and all feel movement inside them. Feeling cold over body, feels like water. I'm starting to think that I'm still the church. They're putting this wet mud all over it. It's evaporation's occurring. It's feeling cold all over the body. Feels like water. Of course it is. It's mud. It has water in it. So it's just simple things. I don't try to dig too much detail out of it sometimes, because sometimes the basics just need to be concentrated on. But yeah, feel movement in right hand, fingers moving. That makes sense. They're grabbing stuff. They're doing work. Temp 3, feels like a cold mist is in front of me. Cold, moist, ears feel covered, feels dense, air pressure is building up. Yeah, not too sure. I know if you're putting cold, wet stuff on a wall all day, that's probably going to radiate coldness or evaporation and feel cold compared to the other places in the area where you're working, I suppose, in front of me. So if I'm working on the wall and I'm putting cold stuff on it, yeah, it's going to be cold. Cold, moist, ears feel covered, feels dense. So this felt like to me that I had some headgear on, or, it just felt like my ears were being covered. I had headgear on and I couldn't hear out of it because of the headgear. Air pressure building up. I could feel the pressure, like I couldn't hear properly, and like something was tight around my head, tight. And the pressure seemed to concentrate around my ear space as well. But I still think it was headgear, because you're going to feel pressure around your head when you're wearing headgear as well. All those types of impressions. I do. Next one. We've got colours, so I'll just bring up the photos. There's really not too many of them. White, green, blue, red, could be any one of those. Green, yellow, pale white, darks, pale blue, green, white, darks, reds, oranges. So in the photos, there's a lot of warm colours. There's blues and greens and warm colours as a majority, because of the Adobe mud and everything. But yeah, any colours that I don't put too much emphasis on what the colours mean at the moment. I just want to see the colours. And a lot of the colors sort of align to the photos or the targets. So it's just a matter of, are we picking up the right colors or the wrong colors or enough colors to decide which scene it might be describing. Anyway, smell one. Thick air, warm air, not cold. Air pressure felt inside space. So maybe it's an inside space. Don't really know. Thick air, warm air. It definitely looks warm there. Thick air, will it be thick and hot? Yeah, you know, hot air is really hard to breathe if it's that kind of heat. And it's New Mexico close to the equator. It can be hot. Smell too. Smell construction, warm, different smells, people, warmth. So here I smell, when I say smell construction, it's sort of like you can smell wood stuff or just construction gear. When I smell construction, it's like smelling my dad's garage. And whenever I get that smell, it's like, that's what I assign to construction, you know, oil, sawdust, a working garage, you know, it has steel, you smell steel, you can smell all those smells. That's construction, and that's what I can sort of smell. Whether that's of the site or a symbolic representation of a work site or the word construction, who knows? That's what practice is for. Warm, different smells, people. So I could smell people, like there was such a lot of different smells. You can smell construction, different smells. So the smell went from construction to sort of people BO smell. Maybe sweat, maybe food, maybe just different, and a lot of different smells. And you know, you can smell clothes, you can smell wood, you can smell cotton sometimes. You know those smells. I know those smells, and those are the smells that get presented to me in those impressions. So people, definitely people. That's why I wrote it down. It's sort of like there's more than one person here, or people. Yeah. Smell 3, various smells. Inside space, warm equipment, like lots of. There's lots of equipment, various smells, lots of people. Here 1, felt heavy equipment stuff on my shoulders and head with a sort of a body gear. That should be an AOL. Now, looking at the people in the photos, you know, they're decked out for the sun, they're being safe. Headgear, shoulder gear, body gear, you know, they could be draping t-shirts and towels over their shoulder just to shield themselves from the blazing sun, who knows. But that's what I've assigned it to anyway. Here too, feels like impact point on arm. Feels like something from side of face going into left arm. Now this one was really weird. So as I was here probing it, I could feel something going from my head to my elbow and my arm, and all I could feel was this cold flow going from my head to my arm. Now I thought maybe it's the target, you know, don't try and think about it, just describe it as best you can. And that's the best description I could come up with, was feeling that flow hitting my elbow. Now, when I look at the pictures, even though I don't see anything that has anything flowing out and hitting elbows or any fountain of any description, I'm looking at these guys and I think they're sweating buckets all day. And I reckon they're doing the action of wiping their forehead with their forearm. And the first action they do is they go from, they get their elbow and they will wipe from the elbow to their wrists. And I'm thinking that's exactly what that feeling was. I could feel the action of something going from my head to my elbow. And it's not until later that I sort of pondered as to why this might have come up. I'm not too sure as to why it's described like that. But I knew at the time that something was going from my arm to my elbow. It's not until later that I thought maybe it's an action. Maybe it's my head going to my elbow and wiping it. Anyway, that's it's not a definite, but it's something to look out for. If one of the things that I'm not very good at is tracking movement inside the target space. Now, I've had it where it feels like gravity is changing on your arm. So my arm's just lying flat, but I can feel the gravity, like the pull of gravity going up, down, left, right. You know, it's trying to get it to move, but I've never entertained it by doing the movements. I've always tried to keep it calm and understand what the hell's happening to my arm. Not until later do I understand, when you see the target, that, oh, it's a dancer, and they're waving their arms around you, and you think, oh, is that what it was? It was gravity. It was them moving their arms in different directions. That's what you could feel. Anyway, let's carry on. So I think this one, which I'm sort of guessing is a component of motion or movement that I need to be aware of in the future. Here 3. Structure feels strong up past my head and down to feet. So I felt like a pole going all the way down my body, like sitting here doing the probe, and it was going right up the side of my face, right up past my head. And that was that. So that's definitely the trellis type stuff, I reckon. That's at the site. Join 1. So join is all about trying to get a feel for the site, maybe emotions at the site, not actions, not physical type stuff. This is more like feelings and emotions, and trying to capture that side of the target. Cold arms feel wet, moist-like. Others close by feel like being directed in a direction. I broke for dinner. Cold arms feel wet, moist-like. So yeah, the person is wet, and they're going to put on wet stuff. Okay. Others close by. Yes, there are a lot of people close by. Feel like being directed into a direction. Yeah, I'm not too sure what that is. But you're probably taking direction from somebody. Maybe that's what it means. Anyway, join 2. Large structural building, cold spots over legs, spacious land scene. So a large structural building, cold spots over legs, spacious land scene. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think all I could feel was just a large structure, building sort of structure. I had flat panels around me. Yeah, it just felt like a structural building. Cold spots over legs. Not too sure what that is. Maybe that's detection of the water or the mud that's around the place. Spacious land scene. So yeah, I had a vision of like out in the Wops, deserts, hills, that sort of scene. Is that my scene for New Mexico? I know nothing about New Mexico, so maybe that's what I think it looks like. I don't know. Maybe that's what it looks like. But having a look at the map, it looks pretty modern. But it's been there for over 140 years, so it could be from any time of that in that period. Anyway, join 3. Relaxed, hard structures on face, structures across my eyes. Feels like a big suit. AOL, puffy, large, wearable. Alright, so I actually think I'm targeting one of the people there. They're probably wearing towel and stuff all over their body, and overalls maybe. Yeah, feels like a big suit. It could, yeah, it just could be protection from the sun. Relaxed, hard structures on face, so it's a structural target. I can't really explain more than that. We've got snapshot number 1, which is outback. This is the picture. This is not the picture from up here. This is another picture where I just saw mountains and a few sort of trees popping up in the view. Snapshot number 2. So I had something large coming off the side, and I felt it was the surround feeling again. When I did the picture, it felt like it had a surround. I don't know if that's the church and that's all that construction stuff to sort of put on the church, but that's what I'm sort of associating to. It was a very soft concept of surround or around or encompass or that sort of feeling or description. We've got snapshot number 3, very much saw a path and sort of like a walls on each side and sort of going into an area. I don't know what these were. I thought they were tusks or statues or something, but they seem fairly insignificant. There was one on each side which mattered, and then there was a building going towards a building. And that was it. So that could be the church. We've got the picture of the church there. It's very, very, very basic, right? We've got the matrix. So just going through quick scan of matrix, we've got Sensorals, which is basically what we've done, but from a whole sense. Magnitude, which is all about size and scale. So big, large, small shapes, maybe shapes, or just its size. Topo, which is for topological, which is shapes. Energy, which is energetics, for anything to do with energy that you can sort of feel or sense. Sub is subjectives, which is emotions, headspace, those sorts of energies that you're trying to look for. Physical is a modeling technique to try and feel the target using tactile feelings in your body. Paraphysical is very much anything at the site that's not physical, so mists, energy, dust, clouds, that sort of stuff. Concepts is anything that may pop in your head when you're performing the probe on this point. Symbolics, or symbol, is what comes back as a symbol, or what presents itself. That could be symbolic to the target. We've got personal responses, so anything that happens on your body, like sweating or goosebumps, hiccups, anything. And snapshots, which is pretty much the visual technique as well. So let's kick into it. Sensorals, feeling cold all over the body, cold air-like, cold atmosphere. Very simple. I think it's just the inside of the church, but very basic, very, yeah. We've got magnitude. It feels like it's spreading out. When I did the ping, it very much felt like things were growing on each side as the energy was going out. So expanding out, enlarging both sides. Not too sure. Don't worry about it. Topological, we've got shapes. So we've got that feeling of surround and encompass shape or around something. So either the construction trellises and that sort of stuff set up around the church and them doing the job of putting mud on it. Yeah. Well, it could be not just shapes, but intent, right? We need to surround the church in order to do the job. So you could have those feelings of around come through. Let's have a look at energetics. We've got body, whole of activity, movement deep down inside. So yeah, it was really weird. This guy's popped up again, and I think it's inside the church. Just feeling stuff. I'm not too sure what. I'm not that good yet. Subjectives, calm. What is that? Calm first. Slow excitement building. Movement, excitement in body. Felt something wrapped around forearm. Wrap, tingle, and cool. I think that's probably just something that someone is wearing, sort of thing. Sure, they've got something wrapped around something on their body. Physicals. Now, physicals, a bit weird. I've got some repetitive activity or feelings on one side. I've got a space or an area where there's some detail, which I can't it's sort of very light and subtle, but then there's this hard surface. It was very much solid. It very much felt, when I looked at this, I thought, is there a space where there's patterned anything? And then you get into the church sort of stuff. But I can't see anything there unless we're talking about the construction materials, the trellises and stuff set up, and then you've got people mingling around, and then you've got the actual church maybe I'm just feeling that it's a stretch, but that's what I'm going to associate it to, because you do feel it, but you don't really have the awareness of size and scale and where it is on the target itself. Some detail present, yeah, there was some detail, but I just couldn't make it out what it was. Paraphysical, feels like cloud mist around arms and legs surface, so I think it's just the wet mud. Concepts, blocked ears, can't hear well, muffled, tight headgear, easy breathing outside, structural face, so very much a person who's got their glasses and hats on and doing the job outside. Structural face, well, they're probably up right against the wall. Symbolics, so I had the symbolic that there was a square and there was this really long thing deep down somewhere. Now, I don't know if there's anything buried at this church, but I'm just wondering, there's probably something down there maybe that I could feel. It just felt like I'd come to this area here, and then there was this long feeling of long downness, like go deep or go down, and that's what I felt for the Symbolics. Sweating on skin, goosebumps, yep, got all that. So this one here, snapshot number 1. This sort of looks like a tree, but I can probably think it's the trellis and all that sort of stuff where people are sort of using the equipment to reach the high levels. And snapshot number 2, the shape is very much of, I think, of the church. These things could be either representative of things on either side of the church or the trees going into the church. But yeah, I had basically closed my eyes and I got this sort of shape. That's the shape. So got the church, and after that was the session end. So thanks guys for joining me on this one. It was very much a pleasure, and I had fun on this one. I trusted my visions a bit more and just did it anyway, regardless if it didn't look tidy or anything. Even the shapes, just do them, even if they didn't look like they connected, or they, it never. Once I saw the target, I pretty much understood what this was trying to show me, and you just have to do it. So don't doubt, trust your visions, your impressions, and just be honest. Keep it honest. So whatever you pick up, put on the paper. And you can determine yourself how well you're connected to the target just by showing the truth on the page of what you feel and not having to question it or doubt it and that sort of stuff. But anyway, I'm jabbering. Guys, have a good one, and I'll catch you at the next one. See you later.